Hey, welcome to Film Fanatics. My name is Dan.
My name is Justin.
And I'm Joe.
This week, three high-profile new releases. We've got two sequels more than 10 years after their last installment, Blair Witch and Bridget Jones, and a real-life drama from Oliver Stone, Snowden. So with that, we kick it off with The Blair Witch. Or is it just Blair Witch?
It is
Blair Witch.
Joe?
I'll say...
Hear about it.
Well...
Previously known as The Woods.
Indeed.
In its promos.
I like that.
It was a good campaign. I like a good sneak movie.
Honestly,
I was going to say, props to them for keeping that under wraps for so long.
I'm good
Definite
with it.
points, especially in this era of filmmaking.
Yeah, it was virtually unknown. And the Blair Witch Project, though, I think is maybe better title.
Well, we already had that.
That already happened.
That's true. So, this one...
And they couldn't call it Book of Shadows, so...
No, I guess they couldn't, because that already happened, too. No one see it.
We need not ever speak of it again.
They could have called it Return to Blair Witch.
Something like that.
But all right.
But yeah, people were confused about whether or not this is a sequel or remake, and it's sort of both. Basically, it takes place
It's a sequel.
A couple years ago. It's a sequel in the latest terms. But it follows the brother of the main character who did the documentary and the original, and he's deciding that after years, he and his friends are going to go back to the Black Hills Forest to see if they can find out what happened to her. And it's the exact same movie, pretty much as the original, except...
More mayhem.
More mayhem, a little more jump scares.
More mayhem because there's more people.
More padding, for sure. Maybe a little more expanding on the mythology.
Yeah.
Slightly. Yeah, I mean, like I said...
At the same time, also sort of changing
some
of the rules.
Some of the rules. Like, I mean, all right.
Which, I guess she's a witch. She can change the rules when she wants.
If she's having fun. I mean,
it's a little inconsistent with the first one.
A little inconsistent, but minor. And I'll say, I like the original Blair Witch Project. I think it was very innovative for its time. I think it was rather creepy, all things considered, and it's one of the few times that the whole found footage thing worked, and, I think that's definitely hard to pull off. And, I think one of the things that worked well about the original is kind of building on the atmosphere, getting to know the characters, and then kind of having this slow breakdown. And also just not as much reliance on jump scares.
Tons.
Oh, my word,
More
yes.
atmosphere. It's like, for me, there's just so many jump scares and so many incredibly dumb decisions within the movie, but even before the movie, like, they try to sell it as, we have to figure this out, when... No. Like, and even the main character who, they have the statement that he wants all this resolution and this closure for what happened, and half the time he's like, this is a fun time, huh? I think it'd be a little more serious, and then towards the end it's like, we have to do this. But I agree with a lot of the other people. Let's get out of here now. And I mean, it's just the whole impetus for the entire event is incredibly stupid. I guess in standard horror cliche way. I can't say that there are no scares, and I can't say that, the acting is the worst, and I can't say there's no decent moments in the movie at all, but is it a completely pointless waste of time? I thought so. What do you guys think? Maybe you liked it more than I did, because I don't think that's possible.
I mean, I'll say I'm maybe a little bit more lenient on it than you are, but here's how I see it. The original Blair Witch movie happened. It was considered a groundbreaking movie, pretty much ignited the entire found footage genre. It wasn't the first one, but it was the one everyone talks about.
It's basically the first one.
Man bites dog. Enough said.
But nobody's hurt. I mean, he's talking about
I knew
popular...
I knew that was going to come up. Justin was going to mention it, because he has to every time. And there's technically found footage movies before Man Bites Dog 2, but nobody talks about them either. So yes,
that's true.
You're right. The first
jump-started the craze is what you say.
Which everyone emulates. Yeah. Totally.
Though I feel like with this movie, which is certainly a better film than the strange sort of but not really sequel.
I never saw Book of Shadows. Did you, Joe?
Book of Shadows, I have not seen.
Okay.
But
so you're the only one that has, Justin.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Most of it.
Oh.
I've heard. I wasn't sure, but I've heard very interesting opinions on that movie. It's one of those things that it's very different from the first one, and
this really does pose the question, though: is there a place for the Blair Witch franchise in an era where there's so much found footage overkill?
The answer?
The answer, at least for me, I'm sure Joe would say absolutely not. Me personally, I would take the stance of kind of. I've kind of got a love-hate relationship with Adam Wingard. I think Your Next is incredibly tonally inconsistent. I love The Guest, but I don't think he has quite yet found his stride yet. And this continues to sort of build that issue with me. In a lot of ways, he's very respectful to the original.
Yeah.
But I think somewhere along the way, he sort of loses that, like, cryptic documentary feel and starts heading into more commercial horror.
Mm. Yeah.
And more people seem to be in on the joke, if you will. And I think it kind of throws it off balance, leading to some incredibly dumb decisions, a little bit of fan service here and there, a kind of clever twist in terms of context to the ending later on, but is the payoff worth it? Debatable. I think the atmosphere is interesting. I think there's more mythology to play off of. It's just, is there enough want to see that go further? I don't know. I left satisfied, but I wouldn't say I have any burning desire to ever watch it again.
I definitely was not satisfied. I can't use satisfied for anything about this movie. Now, I brought the original project to the first horror month we did. I love that movie. Very groundbreaking. I saw it in theaters when people didn't know if it was a real thing or not. Did they actually find this footage? Which I think is hilarious that they even start this one with, this footage was found on DVR cameras or whatever they say, DV8. Yeah. It's like, okay.
Hey, they're trying to be tonally similar.
Yeah, I get it. Well, they did a lot of things similar.
Yeah.
And
did you like the 2 shots of the drone?
Didn't work. Did I like what now?
The drone.
The drone
GPS.
shots. Yeah, it was okay, I guess.
Blair Witch in 21st century.
GoPro. Like,
look,
ooh,
I can appreciate the concept.
Okay.
Heather was your sister. You want to go back. You grab a few friends.
Sure.
You find a couple of
a few
local
friends to do the same thing.
Local weirdos. But, when it's not being a complete retread, it's just not making that much sense. Or the cameras are shaking so much that I couldn't even tell what was going on. Now, part of that, Joe, is the jump scares you mentioned, because they knock the camera out of the way or whatever. Yeah. But half the time, it's just, maybe because the first one was a lot simpler, there was only 3 people.
Yeah.
But, like, at one point, a character dies in this movie, and I literally thought it was a different character. Because the other wrinkle of this movie is, after about a half hour, it never gets light again. The witch has decided that the sun doesn't come out anymore. So the last, hour of this movie is dark, in complete darkness. So sometimes I didn't know who was who, and the cameras were, shaking all over the place. So I really thought this was not great. Like I said, can appreciate the concept. I thought maybe it added a couple of things. I thought the twist at the end was kind of stupid. I thought most of the time these people shouldn't have been holding cameras. It's the same sort of thing I felt about As Above, So Below.
A lot of them.
When they're in, the house, I get it because they need the light
yeah.
from the camera to show where they're going.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, it's dark, but you lit a fire, so you have light from the fire in some of these scenes. It seemed very kind of hacky and really trying to play off of the new found footage thing that at this point is so old that it's sort of pointless. I'm actually glad we don't get a lot of these anymore. It used to be every other horror was found footage. Now it's maybe 2 or 3 a year.
Yeah, 2010s were the worst for that.
But,
there's so
not
many
much
found footage
more.
movies though, for a while there.
For a long time, yeah. And that's, luckily tapered off. I think we've only done maybe 5 or 6, in the 3 years that we've done the show. Yeah, but think about it. I mean, if we were doing the 3 years from 2008 to 2011...
oh my gosh.
Probably it would be crazy.
Yeah.
So, I can respect that. I do think it's, faithful, I guess, to the original, but it is a sequel along the lines of Hangover 2 is the one we always sort of point to for sequel that is basically the same movie. Mm-hmm. This is basically the same movie with just double the characters.
And a bigger budget.
Yeah, but even then, not by much.
Not
Yes, obviously,
noticeably, yeah.
obviously bigger than $100,000 for sure.
Certainly.
But
Yeah.
not a Don't Breathe kind of budget or whatever.
No, not to that extent.
Yeah,
Certainly
so-
not 10 million.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where, I don't know, maybe if it was fresh and new, it would be significantly better, but there's the previous one there. I leave with a C-.
Okay, I'm actually a little below you, believe it or not. D+.
Wow.
I'm actually going to go C+ on this one.
All right.
Okay. Well, Justin, you and me are going to talk about Bridget Jones's Baby.
Okay, Joe absent on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I think you would like these movies, Joe.
Really?
Yeah.
Even with Renee Zellweger?
Yes.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
All right.
So reprising the role after well over a decade, Renee Zellweger plays the titular Bridget once again between two men after a night of passion with old flame Mark Darcy, played by, lo and behold, Colin Firth, and the handsome online dating mogul Jack, played by Patrick Dempsey, sometimes known as McDreamy. However, when she ends up pregnant and isn't entirely sure who's the father, the two begin to compete for Bridget's affection, all while raising the question of, is it better to be suited mathematically or just to be naturally happy? Gemma Jones and one of our favorite unsung heroes of the show, Jim Broadbent, return as Bridget's parents.
Yeah, he plays her dad. Her dad.
Oh.
And Emma Thompson has a supporting role. Mm-hmm. It's been a long, long time, and you could argue whether or not this was even necessary. It may not be, but it was a pretty fun time. I'm not going to lie. It's one of those sequels that kind of functions as both a love letter to the franchise as a whole, but also as a really solid concluding chapter. One of the things I really do love about this franchise is it kind of does what I wish more romantic comedies would do. It's not always about the love story. It's actually really funny. Zellweger does a really good job of playing this sort of out of touch person. I think it finds a way to also intersect some drama where appropriate. It doesn't completely throw it off balance, but just enough to give us an idea of where are we with these people. It really does feel like we're coming back and sort of seeing an old friend after all these years. And I very much did appreciate that. At 2 hours, I'm not sure if it completely justifies its running time. There's a couple moments where it drags, but fortunately there are some great bits to compensate. Emma Thompson borderline steals the show at times. It's hard to not end up smiling at the end of this one. I won't say it's on par with the first one, but it's a worthy installment.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it really is like seeing an old friend. Now, for me, that friend has only existed for about 4 days because I never saw either of the first couple movies. Joe, here's why I think that you might be interested in this. Now, I give Zellweger a bit of leniency because of Jerry Maguire.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't really like her either. However, I kind of like British Zellweger.
She's British?
Yes.
Yes, Bridget Jones is like the epitome of British.
Huh.
Yes. In fact, that's why the Firth character is called Darcy.
Yes.
Pride and Prejudice,
Of
you know.
course.
Yeah, love.
So, very British. And first of all, her British accent's great. You would never know. If you never saw her in anything else, you would never know she wasn't British. I think this movie was very funny.
Oh my gosh.
I loved the first one. Very, very high on the rom-com list. But I actually also enjoyed the second one, which I know gets a lot of flack. Justin, do you like the second one?
It's okay.
Okay. I mean, I can admit it's the worst in the series, but honestly, not by that much. I think the 27% or whatever it is on Rotten
A little too harsh.
I think it's very harsh. I think these are fun movies. This one has, I think, everything that fans of the series will want. There's outrageous situations. I love that she works she's a reporter in the first two for this news organization. In this one, she's a producer, which provides some of the biggest laughs of the movie.
Absolutely.
You know, she's in the earpiece of the her friend who's interviewing. Very funny stuff there. The soundtrack to these movies is always good. There's a lot of good classic songs mixed with some current Brit pop mostly. There's a few contrivances here, but not nearly as many as Edge of Reason. I think that's what kind of brings that one down.
Okay.
I think it's probably almost as funny as this one, but I think there's too many rom-com heavy things we always see. But not only was I smiling at the end of this one, but I was actually tearing up a little bit.
Oh.
And I do think that, you said it was a good conclusion to the series. I mean, I think the last shot we see tells us that there may be more on the horizon, which I'm fine with. I think if everybody's game to come back again, why not? So, yeah, I really like this one. I mean, I do have to admit, it is kind of like Greek Wedding in the fact that, there's a fan base, but were people, clamoring for a sequel 10 years after the fact? Maybe not.
No.
But, I mean, it didn't do that great here, but in the UK and Australia and, some other territories, it was... it broke all these records, biggest rom-com opening ever.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, this series has a big following, and this is the first one not based on a book, too, so I'm sure people were also interested in where it took the story.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I really liked it. Joe, I think especially with the Greek Wedding Love, which is another good rom-com. I mean, there's good ones and bad ones.
There are.
I think a lot of the Katherine Heigl type, 27 Dresses, Ugly Truth, they're just so boring and not funny and
generic.
Well, they're very
standard.
Yes.
They're very driven by, here's a funny situation we could put this person in.
Yeah.
And, Bridget Jones has some of that, but the characters really, elevate this, including, Justin mentioned the Emma Thompson character is great. Her parents are good. Broadbent always.
Yeah, always good.
Always there for everyone. So yes, I enjoyed this one. I would say it's not as good as the first, like you said, Justin, but it's darn close. I give it a B+.
Same.
Okay. Well, finally we have Snowden. Sort of a story we covered, I guess it was last year, right? With the Citizen 4.
Just a year ago, yeah.
But this one is the scripted version. And it's directed by Oliver Stone, and the movie tells the real-life story of NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden, here played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, basically from his entrance into the CIA, maybe even a little bit beforehand, with his military status, to his current state as a wanted man being safe-harbored in Russia. Shailene Woodley co-stars in the film as girlfriend Lindsay Mills, and Melissa Leo, Zachary Quinto, and Tom Wilkinson play 3 journalists to whom Snowden grants his first interview in years, which is basically
Citizen
4. So, it sort of kind of picks up where that leaves off. Yeah. All right, so I am not as well versed in the Stone films as I think either of you. I've only seen maybe 4, including this one.
The government is evil.
Pretty much, yes.
But, so one thing, though, I really always have to admire with Stone is he has a great knack for coaxing these great mimic performances out of people. Brolin did excellent in W.
Yeah.
Jim Morrison with The Doors. And here Joseph Gordon-Levitt really seems to embody, certainly the look and also the speech patterns and voice of...
Insanely well.
I mean, it's great. And, he's doing great on his own, with that between The Walk and... doing the young Bruce Willis in Looper.
True.
I mean, the guy really has a knack for accents and getting, these voices down and everything. I do think it fluctuates a little bit in some of the, fight scenes with Shailene Woodley.
Mm-hmm.
You see a little more Levitt and a little less Snowden in those.
Probably didn't see too much of Snowden fighting with his girlfriend, I'd imagine. To mimic.
Well, no, I guess that's true. That's true. But, he sort of loses the deepness.
The inflection.
That thing.
Yeah. That's a good impression, Joe.
I know I can do it, yeah. I noticed it too.
Yeah. it's it's a very
kind
sort
of slightly
of restrained, gravelly, not Bridges.
No.
But definitely more bassy than Levitt is for sure.
Yeah.
I think the movie's a little too long, as Stone tends to be.
Most of the time.
And I think because of that, or I should say the reason for that is I think it focuses a little too much attention on certain issues that don't really matter as much. And I do think that for a Stone movie, a lot of things are really on the nose. There's a ton of foreshadowing. There's a ton of oh, would you look at that?
Yeah.
Which, as I said, you guys are more versed. in the Stone filmography, but I don't really remember a lot of that.
It's pretty on the nose, yeah.
Yeah, but this one seems like it. My other sort of issue is you do only get the Snowden
highlight reel
side of
Stone
the story,
version, too.
which is always sort of the Stone mentality. And it's funny because I happen to typically agree with how he feels politically. So, for me it's fine, but is that good filmmaking? Debatable. But, I generally liked it. And the one thing I will say that I think probably nobody expected is that I actually could have used more Nick Cage.
Well, yeah.
The person he's portraying doesn't really factor into Snowden's life that much, so it makes sense that we only see him a couple of scenes. But good, solid performance from him, which I don't often say.
Well, in comparison to Outcast.
No, but look, he's done some things I like.
Well, it's a Stone performance.
But it is usually in the more...
questionable.
in the more supporting
Right.
role. I can go back to the last maybe 15 years, and my favorites of his have been supporting Kick-Ass, Sorcerer's Apprentice, those kinds of things. Joe, since we didn't hear from you about Bridget Jones, let's talk to you about Snowden.
Well, I liked Snowden.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought that it actually was pretty entertaining. I thought that mostly because of Levitt's performance. I think that he just nailed the inflections, especially when we get to see a little bit of the man himself at the end. The comparison was really there. I think that there's a lot of range with this person he tries to convey, and they really try to tackle a difficult subject matter without, I think, taking a 100% stance. Obviously,
I'm not sure.
I think he takes a pretty good stance on that.
Well, he might
Go
take
Snowden. Yes.
Stone knows.
Definitely by the end, but at least they mention that it's not always easy. So they'll have some of the bad guys say things which are true. And it's not like they completely ignore the other side. I've seen worse.
Well,
Michael Moore.
I just think it's not necessarily we agree with the other side. He shows a couple of things, but you can tell that that's not what he wants.
I was going to say, he shows the other side like Clint Eastwood shows the other side in Sully. Like, yes, he shows the opposition, but it's clear where he stands.
Yeah, but at least he showed the other side. There are plenty of filmmakers that wouldn't do that, So
I think you saw it more than me and Justin did. But that's fine.
Maybe. But then you have scenes where, Dr. Kirk Connors is on a big screen, staring down at the little Joseph Gordon-Levitt hero,
true.
which may or may not have happened, but I'm pretty sure some liberties were taken.
That was
big,
a little bit much.
Evil guy. Yeah. Like, do you see what I'm trying to symbolize?
Right, yeah, he's showing the other side, but he's
But you know what, though?
it clear
it's the thing.
What he wants to
it's not subtle. It's over the top. Definitely didn't happen.
Would you expect anything less from Oliver Stone,
but
though?
it looked awesome, and the symbolism was great to convey his message in his own way. So it's like, if
you can't remake Natural Born Killers, Oliver. Come on.
I don't think it. Hey, some of the same ideas, I guess. But it's one of those things where you can tell there are liberties taken. But you know what? If it wasn't a true story, I would have thought it was freaking amazing. So
yeah.
So honestly, it's
most of it. I think is pretty close
as a drama, as a thriller. I think it flowed pretty well. I thought it was shot well. I liked some of the editing sequences. Performances were good. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
I think he's a good director.
He's a good director.
Yeah.
I hate some of his movies.
Well,
as do several people, but
that's true.
Usually the ones that
you don't like Savages. We know that.
Yeah.
That's a little on the nose sometimes.
It's pretty polarized.
It's just that I just don't like the characters.
The intro, yeah.
That main character.
All right, Justin, how did Snowden grab you? Other than what
we
said.
I was gonna say.
Did you like the giant evil Dr. Kirk Connors? Did you get that he was evil?
I thought it was corny.
Yes, we get Oliver Stone. Yes, authoritarian power relations. Blah blah blah.
Indeed.
But no, this is an Oliver Stone movie, which just like Spike Lee, you know what you get what you pay for. The guy's got an agenda. It's going to be apparent.
But he can shoot well.
He can shoot well. he is a competent director. The problem is, can that outshine the heavy-handedness? And I'd say the end result of that is about 60-40. What keeps it above and beyond is definitely Joseph Gordon-Levitt's performance. Does a dead-on impersonation of Snowden. And I think that really helps bring it to life. I also like the fact that we got, for the first time, somebody has actually taken an emphasis on his personal life.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Yeah. And I thought Woodley did a very good job.
Yeah, she's good.
Yeah, there's chemistry. There's
less standard Woodley.
There's an interesting angle with that, and I think
naked Woodley.
Well, she doesn't. She never cares about that.
Yeah, but less standard.
Yes, that's well. Yeah, usually
You could
usually she's a PG-13 movie.
You could say that it diverges from her typical type of role.
True.
Problem with this movie is it's trying to cram every aspect of Snowden's life into this one full movie. And because of that, everything kind of feels like a SparkNotes version of what happened. Here's his time as a soldier. Here's his time working in the CIA. Here's his time working for the NSA. Here's his problems with Shailene Woodley. It's like, I feel like I'm seeing a bunch of scenes that are only kind of 60 to 80% there.
Well, I definitely could see some of that. That's one reason why I didn't think it was, like, amazing. There were some parts where we skipped around, but I think the focus was mostly on the relationship and kind of his dealings with his whole career expansively. The only thing I really thought was glossed over was obviously some of the early stuff, the Academy stuff, and the part which is the documentary, which you can watch if you want to see Citizen 4.
I was going to say, I loathed the Citizen 4 little...
Hey, I like
intrusions.
the Zachary Quinto trailer scream. We have those documents now.
I think it would have been better as a bookend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like if you want to keep it, just less is more.
Yeah,
beginning and end. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that they needed the intermittent parts. I agree.
Where they were freaking out for.
I liked all of those actors. Melissa Leo never gives us the same performance twice. Spock is always enjoyable.
Even though his performance was probably the worst in the entire movie.
Oh, I don't know.
He didn't have much of a character, though, Justin. You can't blame
Just
him.
Just get angry.
Yes.
Yeah,
I like what he was trying to do, and I certainly appreciate some of the nice editing touches. The problem is still just so much is being crammed that it almost waters down everything that he's trying to accomplish. And I felt that that kind of ruined what could have been a significantly better movie. Also, the leaning towards one angle over the other sort of also eliminates the full picture of that issue.
But it does, and like I said, that was one of my minor complaints. But then I did think of certain other directors, and it's funny you mentioned Sully because the one I sort of thought of was actually American Sniper.
That too. Yes.
I think Eastwood does have his certainly. This is what I feel.
Yeah.
All over his movies,
and far be it for anyone to tell him otherwise.
Yeah, and I think I probably lean a little more with Oliver Stone's messages than I do necessarily with Eastwood's. But so does that color my opinion of the movie? You
really liked American Sniper.
I did. Well, and that's the thing. I did like American Sniper. So, I hope that it doesn't. The fact that I don't really align politically at all with Clint Eastwood, and he made a movie about, a war hero. Hopefully, it doesn't make me biased. I did enjoy this movie, but I do think it's a little bit heavy-handed in parts, for sure, and, has Stone's stamp on it. All right, Joe, what is your grade for Snowden?
My grade's a B+.
Okay, my grade is also B+.
B-.
Okay. Well, that will do it for this episode. Pretty quick one.
Yeah.
Three big movies, just knock them out. And yeah, there we go. Next week we're going to have one of Justin's interesting conversation pieces because we've got Magnificent Seven with one of his favorite directors.
My old nemesis, yes.
So that'll be interesting to get the take on that. And you can sign up for our YouTube channel here by subscribing. You can also check out the Facebook group Film Fanatics with an exclamation point and the Twitter feed at Film Fanatics Pod. So thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you back here next time.